in whether people from the floor have a similar view around the nature of change in the arts at the moment, and we might talk about that a little bit more. I'm very interested as to whether we're at some kind of a tipping point, and whether this research is a little bit of a gives us a little bit of a taste of what that tipping point is. I was at a conference probably 6 years ago, or even longer, maybe 10, where I heard the Tate talk about themselves as a publisher, not a contemporary art or an art museum. They've described themselves as a publisher. Recently I heard a very large performing arts centre describe themselves as a broadcaster, not a venue. So are we at the point where the nature of what we are is changing and the tipping point is being brought about by this media? Anyone want to have a crack at it? Fee?
I think in terms of the mobile space, there was a tipping point in the UK in about 2006. I think it's taken a lot longer for Australia to have the mobile tipping point because we have really bad phone infrastructures. But again, that's something that's going to get massively improved by the NBN. I'm a bit of a kind of broken record about the NBN. I think that there has been a shift in an understanding of what the internet can bring. There has been a sort of reluctance to go into that strange space, but I think what started to become much more visible is that you're all actually doing it quietly in the corner and you didn't realise that everybody else was, and so now you can come out and say so. So I think from that perspective there's a lot more of that intrinsic cultural discussion taking place on technological platforms anyway. So perhaps it's not a tipping point, but perhaps it's more a blossoming.
Kate, we might bring you into the conversation at this stage. The Australian Ballet has, correct me if I'm wrong, is it 20 or 40,000 likes on Facebook?
27,000.
27,000 likes on Facebook. Now, that creates an expectation, I guess you'd say, with your audience for your organisation. Do you have 27,000 likes because they're hot dancers with bodies that people want to perv at?
I think that's definitely a factor, and I think it's a factor that we haven't discounted at any step along the way, because it's an ensemble company of 69 dancers. Most of those 69 dancers are under the age of 35. They're at their peak of their kind of athletic prowess. There's also the added element of beautiful costumes that are, they're basically couture, or as close as you get to couture in Australia. So it is a very visual art form, and it was a perfect marriage, really, when Facebook came along to showcase that very visual art form. So that's definitely a factor, and I would never discount that. But I also think that ballet is, I think, the second most popular activity that kids do on Saturday mornings